She didn't have to reach out. She saw my story and she picked up the phone anyway. Not as a lawyer, as a human being who said, "This matters and I want to help." My next guest has sat across from families broken by the very system that was supposed to protect them. She understands what parental alienation does, not just legally, but to a parent's soul. Today we are talking about family law in Australia, what it looks like from the inside, what you need to know, and why silence is no longer an option. This is still standing, still speaking. And this conversation is long overdue. Welcome to the podcast, Sandy the lawyer.
Thank you, Sabrina. Thank you for having me.
You saw my story and reached out. As a lawyer, you didn't have to do that. What was it that made you pick up the phone?
Honestly, Sabrina, I wasn't looking at it through the lens of a lawyer. I saw a parent, a mother hurting. I knew that you felt unheard, isolated, and you just had questions that weren't answered. So when I picked up the phone, that's what it was about. I wasn't reaching as a lawyer first. I was actually calling you as a human being.
I love that.
I thought it was important.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that was what really touched me. And thank you so much, because your advice over that phone call and your help, keeping in touch with you over the last few weeks has just, it's been really helpful and just made me feel seen, because I hate to say this, but the system sometimes doesn't protect the right people.
Yes, it doesn't always, as you said, it doesn't always protect people. And I guess not only you, but I feel a lot of people that would be listening to this feel that they've been failed by the system.
100%.
But obviously there's a lot more to it, but I did feel where you were coming from. I saw a mother in pain and I felt it was important that someone had contacted her so she felt heard.
Amazing. And I did. I felt heard and I felt seen. So thank you for that.
You're so welcome.
What do you wish every parent knew before they walked into that system? Because most of us go in completely blindsided.
Okay, well, the first thing I'd say is family law isn't about winning. We always have to remember that family law is always first about what's in the best interest of the children.
Absolutely.
Everything matters. So everyone should know every text message you send, every email you send, your behavior, the way you talk about the other parent in front of the children, it all matters. Litigation is such an exhausting process as well. So whilst you're arguing and preparing for litigation, you got to remember you still have to look after yourself. A lot of people forget about themselves because they're so focused on the litigation.
Because it sort of consumes you, though.
It does, you stop eating, you lose weight, you don't want to go to the gym anymore. Sabrina, you can also say, if you're raising other children from another parent, it takes a toll on your current life.
Yeah.
And I think it's quite important that everyone knows that whilst you're fighting for your children, you still need to look after yourself. It's very important.
Yeah.
Important to seek support early from, lawyers, psychologists, family support. Don't feel that you're alone. Do it with other people. Have people there for you that want to support you through the whole process of parental alienation, litigation.
And is that something you offer at your practice? Like,
I have people that I work with that I refer, psychologists, social workers. So
because that's really important.
Of course it is. Yeah. Remember to look after yourself, because you need to be healthy through the most important time of your life.
So true. That was me, Sandy, blindsided, and I think that's every single person listening right now and just nodding their heads. Where is Australian family law failing the parents and children caught in these situations right now?
Unfortunately, time. Time is the biggest problem. Children can't pause their life whilst parents wait for court dates.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some parents just walk in a courtroom and they think there's someone there holding a magic wand and they're going to wave that wand and then everything's going to be fixed. Doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
we have amazing judges, registrars, lawyers, family reporters, consultants, psychologists. But unfortunately, we don't have enough of those people. You know, the amount of families coming through the court system daily, there's limited resources, not enough of those professional judges, lawyers, you know, family consultants.
Yeah, so that's where it's failing.
That's where it fails. Time. The other issue is there's not enough early intervention. So a relationship is breaking down between a parent and their child, or a parent and their children, by the time evidence is gathered and by the time it gets to, say, court, that relationship between parent and child is already broken, you know, and sometimes it can never be fixed. Sometimes a parent is lucky enough that it is fixed, but you just don't know, because I guess every case is different.
Yeah, that's so sad though, isn't it?
It's very sad.
It's sad, and, you know, it just makes us parents, well, especially when I hear something like that, you just feel alone. Like,
Sabrina, I promise you though, you're never alone.
yeah, I know.
And I guess, no, it's understand, I get so sorry. Understand. But
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah. You're still in rooms listening to all of this, and it's still happening. What does that actually do to you, to Sandy?
Honestly, it does hurt my heart as well, because I'm a parent myself. I'm not just a lawyer.
You're a human.
And just like you, just like everyone else listening to this podcast, you know, and it does shatter me, because as I just said a second ago, it's so hard to prove, you know, and it does happen daily.
So how do you separate that emotion?
I just find ways to deal with it, you know. I exercise. I try to have a rule, you know. Once I'm home with my children, I have to just forget about that matter at the moment.
You've got to switch off.
Yeah, I have to switch off.
Yeah.
You know, reattend to it the next day if needed.
Yeah.
But it is hard. It is hard. It's very sad.
Of course.
Imagine carrying, like, for a woman, let's say, carrying a child for 9 months, and then one day you wake up and that child no longer wants contact.
Nothing to do with you. Yeah, it's, I've said this so many times, it's a grief with no funeral. It's a pain that is unimaginable. Sandy, what does parental alienation actually look inside a courtroom? Because I don't think people understand how hard it is to prove something that is destroying a family in real time.
Okay, Sabrina, unfortunately, it doesn't walk in a courtroom with a tag and says, I'm parental alienation.
Yeah.
The court sees pieces of a puzzle initially, and then they need to use evidence to try to work out what actually happened. A child doesn't wake up one morning and all of a sudden say, I don't love my mother, I don't love my father.
No, that's taught behaviour.
That's taught behaviour. And unfortunately, the court can only work out what's been presented to them. Right. Now, when we talk about parental alienation, I know some of your viewers are going to just automatically think, well, my son or my daughter was taken away from me, and they're going to stop there. There's obviously other situations of, you know, drug use, family violence. We're not talking about that. We're talking about pure parental alienation. Examples of that is, you know, communication cut, unanswered text messages, unanswered phone calls, you know, parenting plans are no longer being followed, court orders are no longer being forwarded. So that's what parental alienation is. It could be, and it's always behind closed doors.
Of course.
So that's a difficult thing. It's not open. No one can see it.
It's calculated.
It's calculated.
Yeah.
As I gave those examples a second ago.
Yeah.
You know, it could be one parent consistently talking about the other parent in front of the children.
Right.
You know, it's quite difficult. It's quite sad, and it's very true. It does happen daily.
And there is nothing that can be done about it.
No, it's very challenging and very difficult, you know, because children don't come out and say it, not at a young age anyway, because sometimes they're scared about what the other parent's going to say, or the parent that's influencing them.
Yeah.
You know,
And that's
difficult.
That's parental alienation right there.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
The challenge isn't just identifying the issue. It's trying to work out the pieces of the puzzle before the damage is severely caused.
What does change actually look like? And who has the power to make it happen?
Well, I guess it comes back from the legislators. You know, we need early intervention. We need intervention when a family is breaking down. Like, for example, your situation, when a breakdown is happening between a child and a parent, The intervention needs to come in then, not months down the track, years down the track. It's the biggest issue. It's access to, family reporters. We need early access to the court system, mediators. There's even a wait on mediation. People call me and say, look, I'm ready to book in a mediation. I can't go to court. I need a 60I certificate. What do I do? And obviously I told them the steps of a family law matter. And I said, you need to go to mediation. There's no family violence. There's no risk of abuse. And they'll call me back and they'll say, Sandy, do you know there's a 4-month wait to get in? In that time, I'm sure that the gap is big. The breakdown's going to be more severe, and who misses out? The loving parent and the child. Yeah, you got to speak up. Think about the situations that you've heard of or you've now been in. If you stay quiet, are you pushing for what you want or what you deserve? You've got to speak up. And I'm so happy with what you're doing, because you're not only going to help yourself, but you're going to help so many people viewing and watching your story. I wasn't looking for a client. I felt your pain in the moment. I did. And that's why I reached out.
So reach out to Sandy at
Corsiticus Legal.
Amazing. They do some great things over there, guys. So be sure to jump on and check her out.
Thank you, Sabrina.
Thank you so.
Thank you so much.
Before we go, because I'm doing this, it's like my.
I love what you're doing. I love it.
If you look into the camera and just let everyone know why you're still standing.
I'm still standing because I get to deal with these type of matters every day. And most of the time I'm able to help a parent. I'm able to reconnect a parent with their child or children. And you know what? That's such a rewarding job.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. We are still standing, still speaking. Thank you so much. This conversation needed to happen. For every parent sitting in a courtroom feeling invisible, for every parent who was told to just wait, just be patient, just trust the system, you now have information. You have a voice, and you are not alone. If this episode helped you, share it. Someone in your circle needed this today.